renewable. We always want to boast that we're having the biggest renewable project in the continent, of the biggest renewable project in the continent. And it is not theory, it is being implemented. Let me give you details. You know, in the State of the Nation address, the sixth administration has, through IPPs, procured a total of 5,939 megawatts from 46 IPPs. Of this capacity, 150 megawatts is from SCATEC projects, which have been connected to the grid and supply the much needed electricity. That is already giving a tenant. 1,587 megawatts from 15 IPPs is under construction, and therefore it will be on the grid. 1,360 megawatts is from 10 IPPs are preparing to reach commercial close. Commercial close is a pre-commencement stage. That you reach commercial stage, you are a viable project, you get approved, you can go ahead. Those 10 projects are at a stage where they are reaching commercial close. 2,842 megawatts from 8 IPPs failed to reach commercial close. When a project fails to reach commercial close, we disqualify it but we don't rush into disqualifying a project. We're patient, we work with the project, we persuade it, we try to facilitate and assist that project. But when it totally fails, that gets disqualified. Informed by the existing IRP, the Sixth Administration has further issued request for proposal for the procurement of the following. Now, what is a request for proposal? Request for proposal is when we test the market, whether the market is ready for a particular technology to get into the market. We do that all the time, so that we don't select people we like and we don't like. We test the market, we assess proposals, and then we approve preferred bidders out of people contesting for those bids. These are what we have approved, RRPs. 5,000 megawatts of bid window 7 have been approved. The RFP have been issued is for bid window 7. And therefore, that 5,000 is out there. Various companies are bidding for it. 2,000 megawatts under bid window 1 of gas to power. RFP is out. 656 megawatts of bid 2 of battery energy storage. Battery energy storage with solar were ahead of the world. We want to lead in that. Investors must invest. An opportunity that is there, it is not going to be created, it is there already. We further intend to issue RFP for procurement of combined 5,660 and 16 megawatts for bid window 8. It will be the last bid window for IRP 2019. That will be the last one. We've issued all the bid windows that were provided for in our IRP 2019. All of them have been issued. We're left with one bid window 8, which we're working on. And we're also working on the third bid window on battery storage. Both those will be issued before the end of the financial year. Now, this capacity will add up to 7,327 megawatts procured by the previous administration since the launch of IPPs. This project was launched in 2011. But one thing that we boast of, I know many of the people who are lobbyists for renewables always criticize our administration. Actually, this term, that's one thing I'm always boasting about. has issued more renewables than any other ministry before me. So when people say AICO, I know that they are being lobbyists, they are not realists. We have issued bid windows more than any other ministry. Actually, in this term, we've issued more bid windows in terms of renewables than all the other years from 2011 to 2018. You can add them up, you'll see that we're making progress, and we have no attitude against renewables. And I think we must demystify this issue, because people always create a myth around us being reluctant to support renewables. We support all energy technologies that will give us energy and help us fight energy poverty. Now, we'll continue to invest in our efforts to arrest the decline of energy availability factor, EAF, and resolve the grid capacity challenges. Those are two central issues in our load shedding. The energy availability factor is below the standard. That means our power stations that are there, not new ones that are existing, are not operating optimally. So the work that is done by Minister Ram Khupa is to say, pay attention to those energy availability factors, make those power stations operate optimally. We reduce or eliminate the load shedding. Number two, we say the grid is a problem. One time we issued bid window 5, 4,200 megawatts. We could only connect 1,000 megawatts because grid capacity couldn't take additional 3,200 megawatts. Now, that is where, when departments working in the same space are fragmented, are all over. Yeah. One plan to supply, others have no capacity to facilitate implementation of that program. So, we are here saying, grid window, we're working on the funding model for the grid. It's against this background that we appointed Council for Geoscience to implementing agent for carbon capture, utilization and storage, CCUS. They are having this project in Leandra in Mpumalanga, a small torpe in Mpumalanga. And we're having an experiment there of carbon capture, utilization and storage. It is driven by the Council for Geoscience, because our view is that if this research is successful, it will give us another access to a technology of cleaner coal technology. Because it's easy to think that you must just close coal and go away. And forget that if you do proper research, you can still use coal for other uses in the economy. The economy needs it. Now, and that is why we always emphasize the fact that when we talk of transition, we talk of transition from high carbon emission to low carbon emission, because that gives you scope to use various technologies. And some people want to reduce it to the transition from coal to renewables. No, it's transition from high carbon emission to low carbon emission. And that is dependent on the successful implementation of multi-pathways to the energy. It is increasingly becoming clearer that the role of coal in our context presents itself as not a strategic mineral, but an important source of baseload problem. Because where we have problems is when we overly rely on renewables. The intermittent nature of renewables tell us all the time, we've seen this practically in the field. The renewables require to partner with a base load technology to be sustainable. So, I am sure experts will discuss this during the term of during the duration of this conference and explain to us what we should do, because it is not just about breathing clean air. It is about breathing fresh air, clean air, but also have sustainable supply of energy. I grew up in a village where there was no electricity. Today there's electricity, every heart there has an electricity. But people, when they suffer from load shedding, they feel it because they don't think about the time when there was no electricity. The reason for that is that electricity gives you convenience that is necessary. And if you take it away, people get irritated. That's why that is where the effect of load shedding is on society. Let me pause here and express our appreciation of the World Bank for partnering with us in this project. The project of CCUS, we did it in partnership with the World Bank, meaning that it's a global institution that sees value in this one. In its 72nd edition of Statistical Review of World Energy, the Energy Institute states that fossil fuel consumption as a percentage of primary energy remains steady at 82%. Now, when we debate, we have a polarized debate about energy, it's easy to think that we must move out of fossil fuel, move out of this, move out of that, move out of that. But the reality is that today, as we sit here today, 82% of energy, of the world energy, is from fossil fuels. So that requires research to ensure that you don't close what you have with the hope that what is new is going to work. You keep what you have, you sustain it, and you test the new. Is it reliable? Is it resilient enough? Is it energy efficient before you unbundle the old? So this temptation of wanting to do away with the old, want something new, is quite tempting. But the reality of the matter is that if you do that, you are taking a risky route on energy. The European Union has declared nuclear and gas as sustainable and part of transitional activity. But in the developed countries, the debate is whether you must have nuclear or not, whether you should have access to gas. Our view is that nuclear and gas will be part of the solution because they provide base load. Let me take gas, which is said to be polluting. Pollution from gas is half of the pollution from coal, almost about half. So if you move from coal and you dilute that with gas, you are reducing the level of emissions merely by just implementing an alternative technology. And it means that you change the approach in the country. So our view is that, therefore, African nations are going to be investing more in gas infrastructure and nuclear and expand nuclear access. In South Africa, we've got the Renewable pipeline, which is from Mozambique to Mpumalanga. It is transporting gas from there, and the beautiful thing about it is that the government of South Africa has increased its shareholding to 40%, Mozambican government 40%. Together as two governments, we own 80% of the Renewable pipeline. Sasol owns 20%. That is what we are having. And the reason that we do that is simple. The capacity of the state to work with the private sector is dependent on a state that has capacity. If the state has no capacity, it cannot attract sufficient participation of the private sector. So the Renewable pipeline is 80% state-owned, 20% privately owned, and we must invest more on the infrastructure for gas as both the public and the private sector. The issue is whether the gas supply from Mozambique is getting depleted. What are we going to do? Our view is that, yes, that gas, everything that is mined or exploited has a finite life. It's not like mixing syrup and water and producing a cool drink. If you exploit gas, that gas will have a lifetime. And if you mine a mineral, you'll mine that mineral, and at a time, a mine will be closed because you'll mine out the mineral. You don't mix water and syrup and produce a mineral or gas. So that is going to happen. It's not a anomaly if gas in Mozambique is beginning to decline in the north and they make new discoveries in the south. Now, we have also produced the gas master plan because we want to use gas in South Africa. We're committed to that. We're working against a lot of resistance where foreign-funded NGOs are blocking any exploitation of gas. And our view is that we must actually have a candid discussion about this thing, whether we must stop development or can we have development working with climate conducive environment. So that they must complement one another, but you can't stop one another for the other. Therefore, our memorandum of understanding of trading electrons from Pandangua in Mozambique and Pandang trading those gas molecules from the annual discovered gas fields in Matola is informed by the future of gas in South Africa. Having gone through the legal processes certified the Department of Justice, the MOU is ready to be signed to put it into action. From aspiration to action. We are in engagement with our counterparts in Mozambique. Having done that, we have also made some discoveries of gas in South Africa. First of all, in Mpumalanga, discovered gas. Number two, Total discovered gas of the southeastern coast. Want that gas to be commercialized. But it needs, we must talk to Total Energies on changing that reality. So we are quite serious about energy. As a matter of fact, gas power is a critical component of Africa energy transition. Given the increase of global LNG demand and supply, it is critical for the Southern African Development Corporation, SADC, to invest in development of upstream petroleum industry, place itself as key player in the supply of these critical resources. Namibia Accelerated Exploration Program has not only led to discoveries of oil and associated gas, but it has increased its potential and doubled its country's GDP. Because development is the only key to improving the GDP of a country. The fact of the matter is that Africa is blessed with a plethora of natural resources, of which significant quantities are needed for the just energy transition. Uranium is one such mineral that can be used in various nuclear applications, including generation of clean baseload energy and nuclear research reactors for medical purposes. We have rich deposits of uranium in South Africa. But there are things that we must overcome, we are resisted by a partner called the US from developing our nuclear up to nuclear fuel stage. They say develop it up to yellow cake, export it, and then import fuel. Our view is that we should be allowed to develop it fully there. We're not going to get into military technology, but we want to use it for energy. We have it and we must use it. The proposal to develop 2,500 megawatts of nuclear power is not a dream. There is already an agreement, and then the procurement capacity is being worked on. We're going to be investing in that capacity. Now, we took that decision. You remember there was a disastrous program of 9,600 that was happening. We took it in that, listen, we will invest in it, but we must do that at a pace and a rate that the country can afford. That's what we have decided. So there will be nuclear development in our country in addition to Quebec. So investors, when that RFP come out, make proposal. We have no blue-eyed boys that we have earmarked already. Issue a RFP. Once we have that RFP, people who are interested will put proposals, will look into those proposals. Therefore, we must appreciate that climate change and energy security actually must be inseparable. They are inseparable. You can't separate them. But you must just work on them responsibly. You will notice that this year, I'm keeping that for next year, that we're already working on the National Petroleum Company for the country. I don't want to talk about that now. It's an aspiration. Next year, when we come to the Energy Week, it will be action. It will not be an aspiration. National Petroleum Company, where we pull together all our petroleum interests into an entity that will be able to do and give us the capacity. We are also working on our refining capacity. Our refining company has collapsed almost. We're left with 2 refineries. We're working on that. We're going to revive them. We can't depend on import of finished. So those are the things that we're working on. Investors talk to us about those things for a very good discussion. Thank you.
All right, Gwede Mantashe there, live from the Cape Town International Convention Centre, giving the keynote address of the Africa Energy Indaba, which now officially gets underway. Essentially, it's a gathering of industry leaders, if you like, and will involve all manner of engagements, high-level discussions among CEOs. All of this in an attempt, of course, to answer the critical question around how to ensure that energy provision, not only in South Africa, but certainly across the continent, is sustainable. The Minister touched on a number of issues. Perhaps I'll just highlight 2 or 3 of you for the sake of our own reflection. Bid window 7 is officially open.
That you heeded. A huge thank you to the Honourable Minister Gwede Mantashe, the Minister of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy of South Africa, for the keynote address, which is raising to task matters that I believe certainly are going to be at the forefront of many insightful panel discussions, of interactive forums, and that will be taking place over the next few days. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to change gears and head into the direction of robust and high-level conversations, which are going to invite subject matter experts. And we also invite you, the delegates on the floor, to contribute to these discussions, as each plenary discussion will have the opportunity for a Q&A. And for our opening plenary, proudly sponsored by SLG, themed Future Prospects for African Energy, that will engage the critical success factors that need to be considered for the perspective of African energy sector, as well as Africa's development. I'd like to call upon the moderator for this discussion, Sean Clary, who's the chairman of Strategic Concepts. And I'd like to invite as well his panelists onto the stage. And I kindly ask that